Well, hey there. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Glad to see everyone and be back with you guys. I hated that I had to miss you last week. I had this little eye issue that I think we're on the mend, so all is good. But I am just excited to be here. I think we have a really important topic that I get asked about a lot and really looking forward to discussing it more with you today. So, if you are joining us, it looks like we are now connected and streaming on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. If you're joining me from Facebook, make sure that you give Facebook permission to see you. And in order to do that, you'll need to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. And it's a one-time deal from your computer. Just tell it yes, that you want Facebook to be able to recognize your name. That way, if you decide to leave me a comment, it won't say Facebook user. So again, that's StreamYard.com/Facebook. And that just gives Facebook permission to see us or for me to see your name. So also, I want to say too that as you are jumping in, leave me a message in the comment. Would love to know who is with us today. Say hey, and let me know where are tuning in from, and excited to see everyone here. And if you're catching us on the replay, make sure to leave hashtag replay so I will know that. Also, if you have questions and you're watching the replay, tag me in that. And that way, when I go back, I will make sure that I see it on the notifications as well. So let me just say that if I am new to you and you are new to me, I want to introduce myself. And my name is Beverly Smith. I am the founder of Career Success Strategies. I'm also the former owner of a staffing and recruiting firm. So I know firsthand what hiring managers are looking for. I'm now using that knowledge to work with specifically mid and senior level professionals. I help them build their resumes. I work with them on their job search strategies so that they can land the career of their dreams. So, like I said last week, I was not here, but the week before that, we talked all about those times when you are in a job that you hate and how to make your exit. Should you quit it and go look for a job, or should you stick it out? I had a lot of thoughts there. So you can catch that replay by going to my YouTube channel, and you can find it. My channel is called at Beverly Smith Runs, and it will be there waiting for you. So if that is a topic that is of interest to you, I had a lot of thoughts on it. But this week, I get asked regularly by my clients, should I work with a recruiter? And so again, being a former recruiter, being the owner of a recruiting firm and a staffing firm, I have a lot to say on this topic as well that I think you're going to find beneficial. And I would like to help you understand better so that if you do decide to work with a recruiter, you have a really good, successful partnership with them. So today I'm going to be peeling back that curtain. I'm going to give you the inside scoop, the lowdown on how to work with an outside recruiter or headhunter, as some refer to it. So, first of all, the first topic I would like to really jump on is just explain how the recruiting process works, because I feel like so many people, I mean, you're not looking for a job every day, so you may not be overly familiar. And so just to clarify, we are talking about not when I say recruiter, I'm not talking about an internal recruiter that works for a company, but I'm talking about someone that works for a recruiting firm or a staffing service. And that can cover those types of third party or outside recruiters can cover a wide gamut. You can have your executive recruiters that primarily do direct hire positions. You can have recruiters that do contract staffing. And when I say contract, that's typically going to be maybe in engineering or the IT field. You see a lot of contract employees there, but that's not the only field. And then you have a temporary or staffing service that does, they do direct hires, but they also do temp to hire, and they do temporary work. And so all of these serve a very unique purpose. And I want to give you just an explanation about how that process does work. So what happens is these companies, these recruiters, partner with businesses, with um, companies, and they can be local or they can be across the United States or across the world, but they work with them hand in hand to help them fill their job openings. And so if you are looking to work with a recruiter, it's really good to find one that maybe that specializes in your niche. And many of them do. Many of them work in specific areas. And so let's say you're an accountant, you may want to find a recruiter that only places in finance and accounting. And the good thing about this is they are going to be very much versed in the types of positions that you have worked in or that you're applying for. And so what happens is like I said, they contract with they call them clients in their world, but they're companies. And the companies are actually the ones that pay the fee to the recruiter. So I get asked, am I going to have to pay a recruiter to find me a job? No. There once was a time where that was pretty standard. I would say that was probably about 35 or 40 years ago. We saw a big shift out of that in the late 80s, 90s, and so I can't even think of anyone that charges a fee to the job seeker anymore. So what that does mean, though, is that there's a little bit of loyalty to the client because that's who's paying the bill. But we'll talk a little bit more about that, and that shouldn't be something to scare you off. I'll explain a little bit more as we get further into how you can make a successful partnership with a recruiter. So, these companies will hire these recruiters to find these positions, and the recruiters go to work in finding employees. And basically, what happens is when a company has an opening, if they try to fill it themselves, they get inundated with lots of people looking. And you may have noticed this, like if you have found a job opening on LinkedIn and you're like, by goodness, there's already been 250 people that have applied for this position. And you're kind of a little freaked out because you're like, how am I ever going to get noticed? Let me tell you, on the other side of that, the recruiter's going, oh my goodness, I have 250 resumes. And it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. And those are the internal recruiters. So they like partnering with these external recruiters because they can weed through that a lot faster. And because the external recruiters say are in a niche area, they're all the time recruiting. Let's go back to our example of accounting. They are all the time recruiting accountants to fill those positions, or finance people. And so when they look through these, they're looking at the different resumes with their clients in mind, because most recruiters are going to be very familiar with their client. They're going to have an ongoing relationship. It's not usually a one and done deal, but they understand what their clients are looking for. And so it's a win-win for the employer because it's very expensive to recruit and hire people internally because there are so many, and if you miss out on, I mean, you could miss out on candidates easy. So when they're working with an external recruiter, that person is going to really hone in on the best fit for the position. And typically they'll narrow it down probably to 3, 4 candidates at the most that are the most qualified and send them over to be reviewed by the hiring manager or the HR or that person that is going to be making the decision. And from there, they will schedule interviews with those people. And so the company gets the benefit of knowing that this person has already been screened, references have been checked. We know that they're a fit skill-wise. We know that they fit we know what their salary expectations are a fit, all of that good stuff. So that's just kind of a really broad, high-level overview of how the recruiting process works. So next, I want to, first of all, let me check and see if anyone has any questions so far. I don't see anything yet. So the next thing I want to talk about is what you can expect as a job seeker when you are working with a recruiter. Again, like I mentioned, so many of the recruiting firms do have specialty areas. Maybe they special in hiring executives for hospitals. Maybe they specialize, like I said, in accounting, or maybe they specialize in finding IT administrators. Maybe they focus in finding salespeople. And there's just so many different niches. So what you should expect when you either go in and meet with them in person or you have a Zoom interview is expect kind of a very in-depth but a broad interview, because they are not only, they may have a specific position in mind, maybe they have reached out to you about a specific position, but maybe you have noticed on their website that they're recruiting for a position. And they're going to, when they interview you, they're going to be thinking more broadly. They may be, like I said, looking at a specific position, but they may also be going, okay, where else is she a good fit? Where else could I place him? And the beauty of it for you is you could end up with multiple interviews from working with one recruiter, multiple interviews at different companies, because you could be a fit for different positions that they've got. And so expect that you'll have this broad interview, that they are trying to hone in on what it is you're looking for and what your skill sets are. Expect that they may do some sort of assessments. They may send those to you after your interview. And again, it's not a test and it's not necessarily ruling you out, but it's trying to help them determine where you're going to be the best fit, because they want, more than anything, to make successful placements. They want it to be a win for you and for the client company. And so they may have these assessments. Other things that you can expect is for them to tell you what their process is. And should they not, you need to ask here, which kind of takes me into my next category that I wanted to cover is, how can you get the most from your partnership with working with a recruiter? And the first thing I want to say is be very open, be very honest. You don't need to be guarded with the recruiter. You need to be very upfront. So if your salary range is, let's say, 110 to 125,000, you need to tell them that. You need to let them know. And if they say, okay, well, let me ask you this. If I have someone come in with a position that's paying 107 or 105? Do you want me to call if it checks all these other boxes? That's when you need to say yes or no. And they need to understand where your lowest of low is. So if 110 is not really your lowest, if you'll take 105, you need to let them know. If 110, you're just kind of throwing that out there, but really you need 115 or you need 120, you need to let them know that. You also need to let them know other things that are important to you as well. Are you looking for a place that has a hybrid um, model where you work sometimes in the office and sometimes you can be working remotely? Are you looking for a place that has flex hours? Are you looking for a place that has Friday off? What kind of benefits are you looking for? What are just be very upfront on total package with them. Be very upfront on environments that you do or do not want to be in. Be upfront on duties. You may have some skills and experience that they hone in on, and it may be something that, I don't really want to do that. Maybe I am a really good salesperson, but I have tried the sales manager route, and I would just frankly rather be out managing my own book of business versus a team of 10 people. And that way, they're not going to waste your time contacting you about positions that you're ultimately going to turn down. And they're not going to waste the client's time, the company that they're recruiting for, they're not going to waste their own time. So that's going to help that partnership. The other thing that I would add here is make sure they're probably going to tell you the best way to communicate with them, and make sure that you follow that communication. I know in our office, getting you placed somewhere. They're working on finding new positions. They're working with other job seekers. So they have a set time, and they don't mind communicating with you, but you need to make sure that you work within those parameters. And it may be that email is the best way. In addition to that type of communication, it's real important for you to understand that that recruiters don't get paid until they make a placement. So they don't necessarily work 8 to 5. So they may get a phone call at 5 o'clock from their client saying, "Hey, I've reviewed those resumes and I am really interested, or I've reviewed those profiles and I am really interested in, candidate, A, B, and D. Can you schedule interviews for these dates?" And so that recruiter is not going to wait until he or she comes back in the office the next day. They're going to pick up the phone and start calling and start trying to get in touch with you. And they may also be trying to email you as well, or text. They may use every mode of communication they have available to try to get in touch with you. Do not wait to return their call. If you get a call, if you get an email or a text, get back in touch with them ASAP, because otherwise you could miss out on an opportunity to interview or maybe a job offer. And so that is extremely important. Um, Early bird gets the worm, so to speak. So those who are prompt and take that initiative and don't put off, get to have the better relationship. Also, I will add to that, when you work with them and you follow those parameters, and you have that give and take collaborative relationship with them and are not demanding, they are going to be more receptive to working with you. It is the ones that come in and they get demanding and why haven't you gotten me a job yet? Keep in mind, like I mentioned earlier, they're being paid by the companies, not by you. So their first priority is to get their existing positions filled. Now, if you are a stellar knockout candidate, I guarantee you they're marketing you. They're reaching out to their clients that typically hire candidates like you, and they are actively marketing you. So keep that in mind as well. So, um, let me check and see, does anyone have any questions for me? I don't see anything right now. So I am going to move on. We've talked about how the process worked, what you should expect. We've also talked about how to get the most from your partnership. I now want to talk about why working with a recruiter should not be your sole job search strategy. I see too many people thinking, okay, I have, signed up to work with this one recruiter and I can basically go on vacation and they're going to find me a job. That's not how it works. So, kind of like I was saying earlier, their sole responsibility, they get paid when they fill a position. So they're working for those clients. But again, if you are a stellar candidate, they're also going to be working for you as well. But they may not find that great opportunity for you. And if you're putting all your eggs in that one basket, you could be missing out. So make sure that that is not your sole job search strategy. And job search strategy is a whole nother topic. Again, it's what I work with my clients on one-on-one. So if that is something, you can definitely go back and catch some videos that I have done on that topic. But again, I work with my clients on how to look for jobs, and there are so many other things that you can do in addition. One thing I kind of want to back up and talk about getting the most value for your partnership, and it kind of goes hand in hand with not putting all your eggs all in one basket as well. So it's kind of what made me think of it. Recruiters will typically ask you, where have you interviewed in the past? And or where are you actively interviewing? Where have you applied? And they're doing this for a couple of reasons. First of all, they don't want to duplicate their effort. So if you've already applied with ABC company, they're not going to come in and try to um, get around that. And you may think, well, if that recruiter has a better relationship, I want that. What they have an agreement with these client companies, and it typically says, like, if I am the first one to introduce this candidate to you, then, if they should come in and apply after the fact, then I'm owed a feed for that, so to speak. That's kind of just in a nutshell how it is. It's a little more complicated than that. But if you've already applied, they know that they're not going to get a fee for it. And the company may come back and say, hey, you submitted Tom Smith for this position. Tom's actually already um some of them may not be so upfront because, like I said, they get paid if they make the placement. So they're trying to make sure that they're not duplicating efforts. Um, and so the other thing too, as you are going on interviews, let them know. Let them know, hey, look, I'm interviewing with such and such company. Also, when you are doing your initial interview with them, make sure you tell them where it is you'd like to go to work for. What are some places, that are top on your list, because they may be able to market you to those places. So, um, just again, it's that whole thing with communicating with the recruiters that's really going to add value and get the most from your partnership with them. So make sure that you let them know. Should you find a job on your own, you also need to let them know that as well. So that way they can pull you and put them, mark that in their database, and they're not still trying to market you and come to find out that you're not even available. Um, Another thing too that I failed to mention, but it's one of the things that I think is really kind of makes working with a recruiter a real win-win for you, the job seeker, and for them as the recruiter as well, as if they know that you're actively looking and interviewing at other places, or know that you have an offer on the table from somewhere. Oftentimes they can prod that hiring manager along. Tom has an offer on the table from another company, and he's very seriously considering it, but I know he's really interested in coming to work for you. And he or she can help facilitate and encourage them to move that process along and speed up the process. That often you, as the job seeker, if you're just going at it alone, sometimes these hiring managers tend to drag their feet. They've got other people that need to weigh in on the decision, and or for whatever reason the company is not moving quickly as they you would like for them to. And so working with a recruiter can, and when the recruiter can come in and say, I know that they're actively interviewing, and I know that they probably are about to get an offer somewhere else, or that they do have an offer. Did you want to make them an offer? So that is going to be another area that it's really going to be a win-win for you, as well as for them as well, to be able to make that placement. So again, it comes all down to having that really good communication with them, being upfront with them on what your status is and where you are in the job search process. So I want to move along and talk next about how recruiters and career coaches or job search strategists are different. Um, so recruiters can sometimes give you some insight into the companies and um, give you some tips, but they may not necessarily have a whole package of this is how you should prepare for this interview. That's where when you work with someone like me that does the job search strategy and interview strategy, where we can come along and really help you with that and get into more detail. Now, some of them do that, but ultimately they're going to be more focused on getting candidates in front of employers and getting feedback from interviews and facilitating that connection between the client, or between the client company and the job seeker. Whereas a career coach is not, or an interview coach, they are not out there actively looking for work for you, but they can guide you through the process of other places. I mentioned earlier, helping you come up with a very solid job search strategy, and then working with you through the interview process. I know I teach my clients a 5-step model on how to interview basic questions, and then I encourage them to practice and practice some more and practice some more on interviewing with those basic questions using that model. And then when they get hit with other questions that maybe are a little bit different or a little bit out there, they've got that 5-step model down and they know it so well that they can just handle those kind of curveball, wild questions and, still knock it out of the park, hit that home run with their interview questions. And so that's where you get a little bit different benefit. And I would say there's value in working with both. So, um, when you're looking for a job and when you get really serious, the good thing is both a recruiter, both a job search and interview coach, both those different types of people, having them in your back pocket is going to be huge, because think about it. This is what we do day in, day out. So we're aware of how the market changes. We're aware of what you need to know and how you need to prepare, and how to put you in the best light. So if when you're working with a recruiter, definitely maybe you don't have every single box checked on a position, but because they've done their due diligence and they've done an in-depth interview, they can vouch for you with the hiring manager or the HR person and say, this is someone that you definitely need to interview. And so that's going to be one area that they're going to know. Whereas someone that specializes in working with, in building resumes and doing job search and interview coaching, we're aware of the latest trends and we are going to keep you abreast on what those trends are. Make sure that your resume is up to date and is, helping you stand out and really capitalizing on the latest trends so that you can really stand out and be seen in a crowd of noisy job seekers. So I hope that I've got a visitor in here, a little honeybee, it looks like, flying around. Um, Always great to be live, right? I hope that you found this beneficial and would love to know what your biggest takeaways are. If you know someone who is looking that could benefit, please share this with them. And again, if you're catching this on the replay and you have questions that have come up, just use hashtag replay and I will be sure to catch those. Make sure you tag me and so that I can see this, and I'm happy to answer those. And again, just a reminder, I do specialize in working with mid and senior level professionals. So if you are ready to invest in a stellar resume, I would love to talk to you. Just reach out to me and I will send you a link to my calendar and you can schedule an appointment with me and make sure that you do that. And then again, we can also talk about some of these other strategies as well in that consultation. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I will be back and see you next week on my next live stream. So mark your calendars for Wednesday at 12:30, and I will see you on my next video.